Hey, everybody. Welcome to this session. I'm Ethan Lieber, the CEO of Latchel, here with Will Gordon, my co-founder and COO of Latchel, and with our guest today, Michael Lushington, the COO of FourAndHalf, and Brittany Stevens, the Director of Client Success at FourAndHalf. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. It's been a dream of mine to have anyone from FourAndHalf on because you're legendary in this space for helping property managers grow. And as you know, part of our whole model is we want to support operations while property managers grow. So we've got some nice synergy here, and I'm excited to kick this off and learn more about what you're doing and kind of what the future looks like for FourAndHalf.
Yeah, we're really excited too.
Yep, looking forward.
Maybe we can start though, for any one of our listeners that hasn't heard of you, would love to get a quick elevator pitch on FourAndHalf.
Yes, I'll start with the elevator pitch. My elevator pitches aren't the best, but we'll see how I do. So FourAndHalf, our entire goal is to help property management companies get found by owners, primarily online. So we are a marketing agency specializing in property management. We do everything from managing our clients' reputation, building websites, property management, SEO, digital ads, pretty much anything that you can think of for inbound marketing, but also a little bit of outbound marketing. And yeah, we love the property management industry.
I'd say too, like I want to call this out because what you do goes way beyond just the services you provide. You have so much value add, free content available. Anyone listening should go to your site and check out any of the ebooks you have. You have a podcast, which I didn't even realize how long you've been running the podcast, that you have 60 episodes, basically like deep knowledge base for helping property managers grow.
Anyone who wants to learn.
That's a key piece of information, because the other aspect of what we do is we do a lot of consulting, and it's not just talking to our clients and strategizing, which of course we do because we want to make sure that they're getting found by owners that they want to work with and presenting the right message. But the education piece is so important because we're trying to not only bring clients towards us, but to just help the industry as a whole with any types of problems related towards growth that we can help.
I do want to dig into how you two got into property management, or I know FourAndHalf doesn't do property management, but you're in the space. I want to figure out, from each of you how you got in the space. But before we hop into each of you individually, I'd love to hear the background on FourAndHalf and how the company even started and why it was started.
You want to go there?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So the company was started in 2012 by our co-founders, Alex Osenenko and John Bykowski. Alex he's worked at Propertyware at Folio. So he was working at Folio at the time and just talking to a lot of people who had this need to grow their property management business, but weren't quite sure how. So he saw this opportunity to help property management companies grow. And so that turned into FourAndHalf. And our doors opened January of 2012. It was just Alex and John in Alex's basement, pretty much doing content marketing on their own. And then the company grew to more than just content. Anything we can think of.
Yeah, I think Alex's initial perspective was he was selling AppFolio, right? He was getting, first of all, they would have questions around the install and how do I set up AppFolio and get it configured. But then it kind of became, well, never mind that. Can you help me with my marketing and what do I do?
Right.
And a series of questions that Alex kept getting asked over and over and over again. And Alex kind of had that aha moment, like here's a space, here's a series of questions that are going unanswered, and this is something that I can address. And that's kind of how it evolved.
So that's awesome. He sees a real problem, talking with the people who would become the customers.
Exactly.
Says, okay, we got to go figure this out, solve this problem. I'm curious, early on, what was the acquisition strategy? Was it to reach out to the folks he was talking with while he was at Folio and say, hey, I can help you with the marketing side? come
Yeah,
on
I
over
think-
here and we'll do content, or
How do the marketing experts market it to their customers?
Yeah, I think a lot of the perspective was, how can I create the right context for this? So in other words, you know you have a need for marketing, and then what's the perspective on spend? Like, how much should I spend, and relative to what I'm taking in, and what do I need to do? And so Alex's perspective was, how can I put together a set of mechanics, a set of tools to understand what should I spend and what should I spend it on? And then understand, how do I measure that, right? How do I measure success? So if I'm spending X dollars in AdWords, if I'm spending X dollars on my website, et cetera, how do I measure that? And then how do I test for it going forward in terms of experimentation, et cetera? So what Alex did, and the Key's perspective and the way that the whole company's trained is, let's make sure we understand the business problem. Let's make sure the business problem is very clear, and let's make sure we understand dollars to result, right? And so he put that in a context for people and said, here's what you can spend safely, and here's how to understand it and make sense out of it. And from there, the company evolved.
Right. And I think that method really describes where we are today too, which is really great. If we're talking about the very first clients that we have, I think the first service that we really were trying to get people with was content marketing. And I think it was really difficult for Alex and John to convince people to go and create content, like film blog videos. That was like our big piece. And that's what we do. So that's one of the ways that we really only marketed through content marketing for years. Still, that's our main moneymaker. We get people contacting us through the educational material that we create. So it was kind of a no-brainer to him. Hey, property managers need to educate. That's how they're going to build trust. That's how they're going to get people to contact them wanting to manage their most important investment. But the first thing we did was the educational video blogs, which it's like pulling teeth to get people to do those. So he had to have a relationship with people, and people like Stephanie Gordon, Keith Becker, Mike Catalano, they trusted him. Andrew Dougal, I don't know if you know any of those people, but he pretty much said to them, you need to do this in order for your business to grow. And they listened, and it proved to be really profitable for them.
So it sounds like the kind of same tactics you were using to create awareness in property managers to come try your services were the same tactics you're giving to the property managers to go get owners, investors, and their own customers.
And it's a helper mentality, right? How can I help? How can I serve you? And that's embedded into everything we do. Yeah. And I think it's, in some ways, it's very similar to your company. The perspective is, how can we solve this problem and help you? And that's the mindset going into everything we're doing.
Yeah. I'm curious. We'll get more into like the tactical stuff a little bit later in the interview, but is content, the educational content, still the kind of number one revenue driver on the marketing side for your customers? Are you seeing more of a mix now?
Yeah, I think so. Our approach is very holistic. Content marketing is still as important as it ever was, but you can't just do content if you want to compete. I mean, a lot of people are creating educational material, which is super important, because you can use that material to do a number of things. You can use it to send drip campaigns to prospects that didn't close. You can use it to send to people while you're communicating with them about signing up for your services. You can create ebooks from it. You can do a number of things. But if you don't have the other tools to back up your credibility, people won't necessarily sign up for you. Like, reputation is, in my opinion, the most important thing. Content is a great way to get in front of people and to have people find you online through searches. Maybe if they have a problem, just typing it into Google. But if that fixes their problem, they might not sign up with you yet. They may do it themselves, or they might have somebody else that they're working with at the moment. But when they do get to that point where they're ready to make a decision, if they go and do their research and see your reputation, and you don't have a lot of good things.
So it's not as simple as
Yeah.
good content. You need to back it up with
good content
substance.
gets you found for sure.
Yeah.
People find you through content, but people make decisions based off of reputation.
Yeah.
And think of it sequentially, right? There's a narrative to how we approach it in terms of kind of a sequence of outreach, right? So first you find and see the content. You get exposed to the content. You go, wow, these guys seem knowledgeable. Who are they? What do other people think about them? And then, other people seem to think they're solid. So now let me dive a little bit deeper and go to their website and really dig into who these guys are. And that's kind of the sequence and steps that we follow for ourselves. And it's also the sequence and steps in how we think about what we're doing for other clients.
Yeah.
Or it could go the other way around too, where somebody knows they want property management. So they type in property management companies near me. They go to somebody's website. It looks great. And they find the content, and that kind of is the decision maker to call them and pick up the phone. They get to see who that person is, especially if they're filming videos along with writing up articles. That makes a big impact just to see somebody's face.
Imagine that's a huge difference, especially in this industry where it's such a personal, personal relationship and connection building. To be able to see somebody's face, know that they're real, and then see how genuine they come across. It's got to be important.
Absolutely.
It also sounds like this whole content thing. The industry is starting to catch up, and it's kind of table stakes just to be able to compete. You have to have the content. The reputation is the secret sauce, the hard part that takes a lot more effort to manage. So how do you help people with their online reputation? You listed that as your number one thing that you help people with. How do you improve an online reputation?
Yeah. Well, so the first thing is you just have to ask. We do a couple of things with the property managers that we work with. We have a service where we request reviews for our clients, consult them on how to follow up with reviews, give them guidelines for responding to them. But outside of that, if somebody's just doing it on their own, most people don't really know when a good time to ask for feedback is. Maybe if they talk to somebody, they'll say, hey, that person was really happy. So I'm going to send them an email and say, hey, can you find me on Google and leave me a review? We found that's not enough to get feedback. And as most of us know, or all of us should know in this industry, people aren't going to leave you a positive review just because they're having a good day. Maybe that will happen, but most of the time you're going to get people that didn't get their full security deposit back, or they were rejected from a property because of their credit score, whatever it is. And those people are going to go online and leave you negative feedback. But the super happy people are just content. So they don't think about going and sharing that with you. So what we recommend doing is weekly, monthly, whatever it is, compile a list of your tenants, your owners, even vendors you work with, and send out review requests to them. Usually it's a good time when a tenant moves in. That's a great opportunity to send out a review request because they're super happy at that time, considering nothing went wrong during the move-in. But that's, I think Bill DM did a study a couple years back that found that was the most happy time during a tenancy. Everything after that kind of can stay the same or go downhill. But we usually recommend just requesting reviews based off of triggers and then following up with them. So it's not just a one and done thing. You follow up with them a couple times, and usually you'll get a response after the second or third time.
We should probably modify ours and also go find your content online about this. What we do at the close of any work order, any one of our clients can add their social media link so that if we get a positive review, then we trigger, hey, would you like to leave this review? We should add a follow-up aspect to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what we found is people will open the email the first time, but a lot of times they'll get busy. I mean, you get a phone call, your kid comes running over and grabs you away, or maybe your cat distracts you, whatever it is. People get busy and they want to give you feedback. They like you, they just forget. So the follow-ups really make a difference.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there are a few tactics property managers can use to avert the negative review. Because I think that's some, you mentioned this, but it's something that can kind of plague a social media page. If it's sort of it almost feels like a lose-lose as soon as you get the tenant in. If you're saying after the tenant's in, which is the best time to get the positive review, it can pretty much only go downhill from there. It's almost what it sounds like. So how do you avert the negative reviews, which seem to kind of plague the industry.
Yeah. Good operations, looking at what your team's doing, using services like Latchel that can handle maintenance or handle things like that for you, so you don't have any holes in your processes. Some things like denying a tenant you can't always overcome, but in that situation, just being accountable and trying to communicate with a person that leaves you a bad review is the best thing that you can do. But in terms of people that you're currently working with, the best advice I have is just to listen to feedback that you're getting from those negative reviews and try to improve them, try to use solutions that prevent any holes in your process.
Yeah. I've seen, I've only seen it one time, but I saw a company that had a bunch of really positive reviews from people who rejected them. From people they rejected from housing. And it was a consistent theme that whenever they rejected someone, they sat down and did a consultation with them to like walk them through, explain what it was, and give them like alternatives. And I think it ultimately comes down to treat people with respect, or don't be a jerk. Like really goes an incredibly long way with managing online reputation.
I love that though. That's really cool. I've never heard that before. Yeah. That's a smart thing to do.
Only seen it once, and I wish I'd bookmarked the company. It was somewhere in Los Angeles. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
You have to imagine it's something that you bake into your process, and it takes time. And I think, well, for any marketing, right, it doesn't matter what it is: content, social media, reputation building. It all takes time and intention. And sitting down with a tenant you reject every time is what's going to build a positive reputation. It's like you kind of earmark that as your marketing cost almost. It's not.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to take a step back because you both obviously have this like rich depth of knowledge in this space. And I'm wondering how you each got into this and developed that. Brittany, maybe we can start with you, but how did you even get into FourAndHalf?
Yeah, well, so I've been working here since I graduated college. Actually, I've been here almost 5 years. I really wanted to move to the Bay Area because that's where all my friends lived. Wanted to get over to Berkeley, but I was kind of procrastinating a little bit. So my best friend kept sending me job applications, trying to push me along. I'm originally from Chico up in Northern California. And so she sent me the application for an internship at FourAndHalf. And I was kind of like, okay, these guys look kind of cool. I guess I'll apply. And then I got an internship here, moved to the Bay Area, and have kind of just been doing this ever since. So I graduated from Chico State with a degree in marketing. My background is mostly in customer service. I've done customer service jobs my entire life. So I feel like the combination of customer service experience I had plus just kind of like my basic marketing background really helped me to find a place here, because a lot of what we do isn't just marketing. It's customer service, it's support, it's sitting down with people and like being their person. So that's essentially how I got here. And then I just kind of got sucked in.
Michael, before we hop to you, I have to ask, because I don't actually know, where is your office located?
We're down here in Hayward.
Okay.
Beautiful Hayward.
Just down the street from you.
The gem of the Bay.
Yeah. I don't know if you probably don't know this. Actually, Will and I both graduated from Cal.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we met. I'm just across the bay from you.
That's awesome. Well, I live in Berkeley, so I mean, people that are listening can know where I live now. So
Berkeley's a big place.
Yeah.
Very good place. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love it there.
How about you, Michael? How did you get into this?
Yeah, you'll never believe it. Alex and I were friends, and Alex got to talking to me. I have a background in technology consulting. Worked for a number of big companies, doing a lot of work management software development and implementations for larger companies, so PG&E, Visa, companies like that. And Alex and I got to talking because Alex said, I've gotten the company to here, so far, and we've got a nice suite of services. And I really initially envisaged it as a services company. But really at this point, I feel like without certain technology pieces, we're not going to be comprehensive. And we're going to always have this sort of sense of piecemealing. And I have some very strong sense. This is Alex talking. I have some very strong sense of kind of what clients should do with their websites and what that should feel like. And so Alex said, I want to build technology services, but I don't want to build a tech company. So how do I do that? And my background is in business solution making using technology, right? So not technology for technology's sake, but really solving real problems and driving technology solutions against those business problems. So what we did was we came in and we looked at the problem. We said, okay, this is what we think the team should look like. This is the makeup, and worked it that way. So I came in initially as a consultant, working with the company, and then just got completely hooked by the industry, by working with people like Brittany and the rest of the team here. I just really liked the presentation of helping small businesses grow. That's our tagline, but it's more than a tagline. It's a philosophy and a set of behaviors that are built into everything we do. And I just really like that feel. And so just got hooked and stayed.
Well, I'm curious. I want to actually, after I ask this, pass it to Will, because I think actually you two might have some more overlap than you think. But before we go there, I do want to ask, what was that pathway like, starting in a consultant relationship and now kind of moving into this COO role at 4.5? Like, what was that trajectory like?
It's a great question. The consultant role was very natural for me. I've been doing it for a really, really long time, so it just felt very ordinary. And then kind of my mindset always going in, even as a consultant, was, both what can I do for you today and how can I help you long term, right? And so that mindset, just given the way that we do things here, that just fit very well with what they were doing. And so when I came in, as an example, I also have a very strong process orientation and workflow orientation. And so when I came in and I started looking at things, and Brittany, you'll remember this, because
yes, I do.
When I first started talking to Brittany and the rest of the team, I was like, I need to understand these things and see how information moves through the company in order to really solve some of these problems that I'm going to try to solve technically. And we had some understanding of our processes, but not a really rich, represented understanding.
A lot of it was in people's heads.
Yeah. And so we spent a fair amount of time just, we have the nice big whiteboard walls and building process flows to really understand how everything moved. And now, we manage everything that way. But that was kind of the connection.
Yeah, he made all of our lives easier with that. Yeah. So we wouldn't let him go anywhere other than stay with us.
Yeah, Michael, you're really speaking my language. Exactly how I approach problems too. And Latchel was first founded on our leadership principles, but then very quickly became a process mapping exercise. Like, how is information going to flow? How are we going to communicate to all the different parties? How does our system handle that communication, et cetera? And what Ethan was referencing on our overlap, not just the process orientation, but I spent some time at PG&E post-college as well, in the Smart Meter Operations Center when they're launching the initial launch. Yeah.
On the metering side?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So I did the smart meter implementation.
Yeah, so I thought you looked familiar, but I didn't want to say anything. So it was 2009 for a few years after that.
Not old.
I was doing a lot of process improvement inside of the operations center.
That's awesome.
Very early on. And then left for grad school, supply chain management, worked at Amazon doing a lot more process improvement. And I completely agree with you. It's a lot more gratifying working with small businesses. It's a completely different set of problems, and I think a lot more human, personal, and interesting.
100%. Yeah. I think that's really where it touches down. Is you really feel like you're right into the heart of the business, and you really feel like you're affecting something. The frustration, even a company like PG&E or the larger organizations, is you begin to pull on a thread, and then that thread gets very, very long, and you're not sure if you can really fix the problem, because it becomes bigger than you.
Mhm.
And with this, you feel like you can directly affect the outcome and see it happen. So yeah, that's funny connection between the metering world.
Yeah, I'll connect with you after and start seeing like
Nice.
where the overlap is on specific
yeah,
names, because I'm pretty sure we'll find it really
That
fast.
was a good, I mean, don't misunderstand me. That was a really good piece of work. I loved working on that project, and the effort involved was tremendous. And it was the scale of it was very interesting to me. So
Yeah, I always tell people when I talk about my background is very different from property management. I have a family history and background, but like my personal background is operations engineering, supply chain management. But at PG&E, I helped develop a system to handle maintenance and maintenance coordination on the smart meter network, and then the communication units as well. And so it's a surprisingly similar system that we've built at Latchell, going all the way back to the days that I was at PG&E
Nice.
too.
That sounds great.
I think too, to connect it, and you had mentioned, I'll pull out some of the buzzwords that you had kind of mentioned, and maybe you didn't notice that you mentioned these, Michael, but you mentioned the tech side, and I'm gonna throw in my own buzzword of automation, and connect this to the whole process piece, because I think nowadays a lot of the way we think about building process in any company to make it as scalable as possible is how do you incorporate tech and automation into that process so there's less human effort involved. You create things that are more scalable. I'm curious from your guys' perspective on the marketing and growth side, what are some of the automation and tech pieces that you bake in to basically make that marketing, that growth side more effective for the companies you work with?
Me?
Yeah.
I think from our perspective, first of all, the answer is, how do we do that? We do it very carefully and as gracefully as possible. Meaning that, as an example, one thing, I think this is probably a good thing to look at and a good thing to talk about. In terms of, it's very important, right, to measure results in the marketing world, to understand the effect of your marketing campaigns and how those campaigns are going. Initially, Alex had kind of a brainchild of talking about kind of a business performance dashboard and fully automating that process, because what was happening was, a lot of property managers out there, and they had all sorts of tools, right? So they had Google Analytics on down the entire data suite for taking data off the back end and evaluating. And we could sit here for the rest of the podcast and list out the number of data reporting tools that there are. And and a lot of the property managers and Brittany's account managers were running into this, were drowning. Yeah. They're literally drowning in data. I'm like, they were saying, I'm seeing this. What does it all mean? And what does it really tell me?
That's totally a common problem. Data is everywhere.
Right.
Making sense of data is what's hard and a really valuable skill.
Yeah. So 100%. And that's my sense of that when I came in from the outside was, okay, let's do wait, stop, and make sure we turn this into information, right? Let's turn it into decision making. Let's turn it into how can we use it to help us better make smart decisions about how we're managing our marketing and what we're doing going forward. So while we did actually build a prototype to pull in all this data and display it, what we found is that the variability in a lot of the data that we were getting back was still creating a lot of confusion and consternation when we tested it with different property managers. So we said, look, let's peel back from this. Let's apply a human element. Let's bring the data in, the meaningful data that we know is decision oriented. Let's give that to our account managers, and then let our account managers go over that data with property managers so that their time isn't wasted decrypting a ton of data. Let's get their information in front of them that helps them really make decisions. And so we made a bit of a pivot. And oddly enough, in this case, which is a little bit risky now these days, right? We made a pivot away from technology and said, we're going to apply a human being here with some analytics so that we can save time for property managers.
Yeah, but that's ultimately,
that was
the value,
right? That was a challenge decision. What do you mean it's not magically coming to me? Well, we're really trying to do this to save you time at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And we had to make that decision. And I absolutely 1,000%, everything that I've seen, I know it was the right decision.
100%.
And now we have this process with our dashboard, but it involves a human analyst that knows the data very, very well and can help make their time effective.
Right.
Yeah. Data
Don't tell
without
anyone,
insight.
but Latchel did the same thing.
Ah,
We actually started as
It's so
pure.
nice to talk to a compatriot that feel the same way.
Yeah.
I love technology. I love what automation can do for people, but I want it to be effective, not overwhelming.
You have to pair it with the human element to actually get results that you're looking for, or else it just becomes very loud and confusing if you're not doing it the right way. Like we even did a podcast a little while back with a company talking about workflow automation, and you even did. We've done a lot of education recently about workflow automation. You did like 3 blogs on it, and the key factor to take away from all of the thoughts that we have about it is, yes, technology, automation, it's super important. It can make your life so much easier, but you have to do it the right way, and you have to kind of slowly implement it, but also have the human element to keep.
It's risky when you do it wrong. A lot of people think it's a silver bullet, and it absolutely is not. And data without insight can be less than worthless. It can actually be dangerous if you misinterpret it or make the wrong decision as a result of it. I think having that human element with experts that are trained in understanding this data is so much better for your property manager clients than expecting them to become experts themselves in what all these different, very confusing, oftentimes conflicting, oftentimes, like you said, noisy data that needs to be cleaned up before you can actually take insight. It's absolutely the right move. And I think it's something more technology companies or companies in this tech day and age should follow.
I want to say too, I think if I'm hearing this correctly, and tell me if you would adjust this in any way, I think the value that you're bringing to your clients is really that they know every dollar being spent on marketing is effectively being spent, that they don't have to, because you're crunching that data for them and presenting it to them, they don't have to worry about spending thousands of dollars on the thing that doesn't end up working. You're able to say, hey, here's
and
the
that's
proof.
what we want, because we don't want our clients spending a bunch of money and getting nothing and then coming to us and saying, hey, what did I do here? For example, we have a digital ads team that do Google AdWords campaigns, Bing campaigns. There are several clients that we say, hey, you shouldn't run a Google Ads campaign. The cost per click in your area for property management related keywords is like $30. If you want to spend $200,000 a year to get 10 more clients, like by all means we can do that, but that's not where we recommend putting your efforts. So that's 100% true.
That's a really good example, Brittany, too. I just think that whole landscape, the AdWords landscape in the time that we've been in business is totally different. It's radically changed. And so we have to adjust with it in terms of, again, being effective, right? The goal is to be effective with your marketing dollars against what your goals are and your growth goals, right? And making sure that all of those are tightly coupled, and you can make sense out of it every step of the way.
And making sure it's targeted towards people that you want to work with too. So you could have all of the marketing collateral out there. You could have your website. You could have nurturing campaigns, drip campaigns, even let's say you have a billboard, whatever it is. But if you're targeting the wrong type of client, that money's wasted too. And that's something that we work really closely with our clients on, is making sure we identify who they want to work with, who they make money from, and the people that will stick around for a long time.
So in the Bay Area, there's this terminology often used when we talk about getting customers is, what's your customer acquisition cost? I think it's very much like a kind of like SaaS sort of word, but I'm gonna take the phrase and apply it in the best way I can to property management. I know there's so much more that goes into what's the cost of getting that customer, the time spent onboarding them, that, sitting in the room doing an appointment with them, getting in front of them, shaking their hand. But is there and this might be an impossible question, so tell me if I'm just way off base here. Is there like a target customer acquisition cost that you'd say this is really where a property management company should be targeting to spend on every client
Of course,
they
it varies
acquire?
by segment, but do you have any kind of guidance or rule of thumb?
Yeah, well, so it depends on what you make, right? So the way that we look at it, we actually have a marketing plan that we create for our clients that maps out, hey, what is the lifetime value of your client on average? How long do people stay with you, and how much money do you make from them in a given year? So if you're making $10,000 a year from a property, and that's $30,000 over the course of 3 years, then it's ultimately what, and those are just like random numbers I'm throwing out, but ultimately it's what you're okay with and making back. But typically, I think the most that we see people want to spend is usually less than like a year's worth of revenue, but it depends. Yeah, it depends on the client, but we tie everything back to the lifetime value of the customer for that specific property management company.
Do you see a common ratios? I mean, for the customer acquisition cost, it looks like if you're only looking at 1 year, you're not capturing the full lifetime value, and you're looking for just like a 1-to-1. But is there a typical lifetime value to customer acquisition cost? Is it 5-to-1, 6-to-1, 2-to-1?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like, and this, I'm not sure, I'd need to double check, but I feel like what I do see more regularly is like 3-to-1 or 4-to-1. So it's like if they keep them for 4 years, they'll spend a year's worth on them. I know, and I had a lot of conversations with Alex previously about this too, where it's like, if you're able to make back the money in a year and a half and you're okay with that, then that should kind of be a good rule of thumb.
But it's where they are and the kinds of relationships that they want to build, and the kind of relationships that are inherent in where they're working, right? So if they're in a high turnover area versus an area that's going to dig in and be there for a while, all of that is locality.
Yeah, buy and hold versus long-term versus short-term investments.
Investors, am I talking to private owners? Or a mix? All of that is factored in.
I think the other thing that
to flip.
Yeah, the other thing that makes this tough is how, probably more than any industry, just how fragmented the marketing can be, and how fragmented the industry is. There's so many. I think there's 250,000 registered property managers in the US. That's like crazy to think about. And the last I checked, I think it was like the top 50 companies only really own something around like 8% of the market, which is crazy, right? No other industry is like so fragmented. Do you think, do you see that landscape changing at all in the future, or is it going to stay that way? How does that impact the way property managers should think about marketing?
Yeah, so we've seen things are changing, obviously. Since I got into this almost 5 years ago, things have changed a lot, but we do see a lot of people still piecemealing marketing. And that's kind of what we refer to it, where you dip your toe in this, you try this out and you do everything for a couple of months, but it's also fragmented, separated, that nothing's working cohesively together. We feel like that's changing a bit, and we're especially trying to do it with our clients. What we like to do is take a more holistic approach, where we start from the beginning, where we're figuring out who you want to target and what your message is, and then spread that across all marketing channels. Our recommendation and our path to success usually isn't a fragmented marketing strategy. It's putting as much as you can together and tapping into other resources where you need to.
Yeah, I think that's 100% correct, though. I think your observation, about it being a fragmented place right now, that's kind of what we're recognizing is, I'm going to dip my toe into. First of all, I'll dip my toe into the business. I think I'll try this. I'll get a few properties and I'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And then now I'm going to try it over here. Now I'm going to try it over there. I'll try a little bit of this, and then almost that approach starts to bleed into marketing
Everything.
approach, right? So now I'm okay. I'll get myself, and this is something, you know,
You can't see, but Michael's sticking his foot
oh
in
yeah,
different areas. He's gesturing with his feet.
Probably shouldn't do that. But the thing is,
Imaginary puddles.
it reminds me of the consulting arena too, though, right? Where you were, if you're in big companies, where a company will get one consulting company to do X, another consulting company to do Y, and what happens? Naturally, they start pointing at each other, right? And so we're seeing the same thing in the property management industry, where you get a property manager where he says, I'm going to go get myself an SEO consultant. I'm going to have somebody else do my website. I'm going to get somebody else to do my AdWords, and I'm going to get somebody else to help me with content. Yeah. And then you get those 4 people, and they get on the phone, and they're all they
all want different things. They're all working against each other.
You're not creating an ecosystem for your prospects to jump into.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And not only that, worse than that, by default, and I think in some cases unknowingly, the property managers put themselves in the position of, now I've got to pull all these constituents together and make them play nice and make it all work together for them.
And they're already working so hard on trying to do that in their job.
So at this point, what we're saying is, look, even if you don't go with us, choose one. Yeah. Choose one that's going to do everything for you and bring it together in a consolidated whole. You're going to be happier. It's going to be more effective, and you can measure the results. And the other adage, you hate to say it, but one throat to choke. Yeah. It's just there.
Yeah. So, Brittany, you're the director of client success. So I think this is a great question for you. Tell us about some of your best success stories with clients.
I feel like I always go to the same people. Our greatest success as a company, obviously, I can think of is one of our first clients, Stephanie Gordon. She owns a property management company in San Francisco. I mean, I'm sure if you guys are going to lunch, you might see it. I don't know.
We know Stephanie.
Yeah. She's wonderful. I love her. So she started with us from the very beginning. Alex convinced her to create content. She has, I don't even know how many pieces of educational content she has on her website, but she was able to quadruple her business. I don't even have the numbers in front of me right now, but she's one of our biggest advocates because she didn't want to do it. She never wants to do anything we tell her to do. And it's actually hilarious. We made in my opinion, a horrible piece of marketing for we made a sign for conferences a couple years ago, and it was literally a big head, and it was Stephanie's face saying, I just did what they told me to.
Nice. Yeah, that's right.
And she did. She did do what we told her to.
And she ended up selling, right? She ended up selling.
So she sold her business to one of her employees that had been with her a really long time. I think she sold most of it. But she's had so much success from that she doesn't have to work anymore.
But the perspective, and I think to Brittany's point, right? She wasn't super enthusiastic, I think, about any of it. But at the same time, she said, okay, if I'm really going to find out if this works,
I have to do it.
Yeah. If I'm really going to find out if I'm investing this money, and I got to find out if it works. So I'm going to give them everything, and I'm going to do what they asked me to do and partner together and watch over time. And don't get me wrong, Stephanie managed us and manages us great, meaning that she provides very explicit feedback when something's not working. We hear about it right away. We make a tweak right away, and then we fix it and we move on.
Yeah. Our most successful clients are partners with us. It's not they hand everything over to us. It's we talk to them on a regular basis. We bounce ideas off of each other.
I think I'll say this on behalf of Latchel too. With a service like ours or like yours, you really become a part of one of the main legs of the company, whether it's your growth or sales. Then you have operations.
Yeah.
There's other legs too, but we're involved in the operations leg. You're involved in that sales growth leg. You can't ship off an entire leg of the business without any feedback. You have to be part of that. I think one of the tough things, sorry, Will.
None of these are set it and forget it solutions. You have to be actively involved in the process and making sure it's going the direction you want.
Too. People do think that it's as easy as, okay, I did this, now I'm done. It's constant. If you're constantly trying to grow, you have to constantly improve and adapt your strategy to the changes that are always happening.
And going off that, I think a lot of the questions I'll sometimes get from our customers just when we're kind of small chatting about growth and marketing and all that is revolves around how long do you actually have to do these things before you say this is working, this isn't working. Because I think sometimes it can feel like you're like running up against a wall for months and months and months until you realize like there was no wall and you were actually like hauling the whole time and you're just not seeing results until way later.
It's not a wall, it's a mountain that you're climbing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what is the timeline folks should be looking at for this kind of thing?
It's tough. It's like it's tough. It depends on the competition in your area, and it depends on what you're doing. Any marketing, I don't care what you're doing. I mean, if it's online, I don't usually see results before the 6-month mark because it takes time to get everything set up, and then it takes time to develop the strategy further. If you're doing any type of website work or content marketing, the more interactions you get with your content, the more visits you have to your website, the longer it's online, the more that starts to work for you. It's like a domino effect. So it's always difficult to say when it's going to work because sometimes in one market, there might be 15 or 30 or 50 other people doing very similar things that you're doing. So it's also good to look at what the competition's doing and see how you can get ahead and reduce that timeline a little bit further. But yeah, it's always a tough question to answer in terms of timeline because you never really know. You just kind of have to keep eyes on it and make sure that what you are doing is improving.
Have you ever had the case where like you have a property management company come to you and you look at the landscape, you look at what they're doing and you say, we just can't help you? Does that happen?
Yeah. All the time. Yeah.
And why does that happen?
It could be a number of things. One, they might be doing everything that we're doing and they're doing a really great job. It might just be that they don't have the resources to put into it right now. So we have companies all of the time. We have so much content about starting a property management company. So we get a lot of inquiries. Hey, I'm brand new. I haven't really thought about how I want to start my company, but I saw your blog and I wondered if you could help me. It's like once you're ready to grow the company and you have operations in place, we are more than happy to help you with your marketing, but we never want to set people up for failure. So say you're a one-man show and you have no resources to manage the properties. We don't want to market for you because that's just going to be, a nightmare essentially. So we usually just refer those people out to some of our relationships that can help them get the operation side up and running, figure out the processes for actually managing the properties. And then once they have that, we will help you. No questions asked.
And I think the flip side of the coin there, the flip side of that question is, are there certain qualities that make for like an ideal client or an ideal company for growth?
Yeah, I think you have to have your processes. So that's obviously, I just said that.
Basically, don't have a leaky bucket, right?
Yeah,
don't bring in a bunch of people that you can't support that are
right, exactly. Or then you're just going to go out of business because you lose all of your credibility. But good processes, good people. I always recommend if you want to grow and you want to sign more owners up for services, have somebody that is dedicated to talk to them. Have a business development manager, make it their job to pick up the phone and talk to people. But not only do that, their job should be to go out and seek people out in addition to whatever online marketing you're doing. But
I think also like a solid understanding of intent.
Yeah.
Meaning a plan, like what are you actually trying to do? And then hopefully it's grounded in reality to the marketplace that you're operating in. And we have an opinion on most marketplaces at this point, so we'll certainly tell you if we think it's not. but I think a solid plan and an intent, a vision for what you think it can be. And then I think beyond that, the other things that Brittany mentioned, documented processes, understanding that, and then accountability inside your organization.
That's really important.
That that both you have an accountability for things in terms of how you're managing your company, but also that through your organization, everybody understands kind of what they're accountable for, what their role is, and how that's put together. And like Brittany was talking about, we do a lot of work now, even up front with a lot of companies. We'll start with, do you have a marketing plan? Do you have a plan? Right? And if you don't, let's just start there. Let's not go spend a whole bunch of money. You don't need to right now. Let's make sure we've written down, understanding what your intent is, exactly what it looks like from a growth perspective, and then let's put that against some numbers that make sense. And then we'll build a plan for you to really grow in a way that we both feel is effective for you.
I think what you're doing is amazing because this industry is so hard and it's really hard to build the right, not only the operation side, but the right processes on the growth side to bring in customers effectively. You have the online marketing you have to do, you have the in-person stuff you have to do, you need to make sure everyone's on the same page. But I think also just the industry in general and the customer base that property managers are going for is hard in itself to tackle. And I haven't really developed any like strong opinion or conclusions as to why that is. And I want to ask the question, do you get a sense of why it's so hard to market and acquire customers in this industry?
One thing is, the one thing that occurs to me right away is it's my primary asset, right? In the case of when I'm renting out my home, if you have a single owner just trying to rent out their single family home, I'm reaching out to somebody I don't know that's going to manage my property. And so what's involved in that relationship, what's involved in that exchange, and getting, I think for us, especially with new property managers, getting them to understand the complexity involved in that relationship and reaching out and connecting with people, why trust is so important, why it's so important to be explicit about your pricing because of the trust factor. And then the educational aspect, feeling that, these people aren't just aggressively after taking over my property. They
care about me.
They care about me. They understand the industry. They've actually been down this road. They know how to deal with evictions. They have a deep knowledge about every aspect of my home, and building up that relationship, understanding that it's like a seed, right? It's something that you want to grow with somebody in terms of how you make a relationship. I think that's the part that's really tricky. It's not somebody walking into a store and saying, I want that widget.
Right. Well, it's the difference between, there are two ways there are a million ways you can answer the phone, but say you get a call from a property owner, you can pick up the phone and say, oh, okay, what's your property address? Or you can pick up the phone and say, hey, tell me more about what you're looking for. I work with somebody, Sandy Highland, shout out to Sandy if she watches this. She's wonderful. She works in Sacramento, and we were talking to her a while back about how she handles her sales calls. And the first thing that she asks whenever anybody calls in is, hey, what fears do you have about letting somebody else manage your property? What are some of the concerns? What scares you? Tell me everything. And then she bases the whole conversation around ways to overcome those fears and builds a relationship with somebody, whether or not they end up working with their company. And I thought that was really cool. And she kills it. She closes business like no other. It's magical. But it's important to establish a relationship.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the point of it, though. It's, for most people, this is their largest single asset, or a very large portion of their overall assets. And there's a huge amount of trust and relationship building, and having that kind of conversation, it's very disarming, and it's very genuine too, and it allows you to speak to that person's exact needs. I want to bring this back full circle to one of the comments you made recently. You don't take clients unless they have an existing operation, or they're actually established, willing to delegate out work to other people and have done that. it kind of sounds like you can't really help them until you can't help manage a reputation until there is a reputation in the first place. And there's a lot of work to be done before you're even ready to start growing based on your reputation. Just work on establishing it. And I think it's incredible that you have so many free educational tools and resources so you can help anybody at whatever stage they're at.
Yeah.
It's just a pretty awesome business. So for somebody getting started, like right away, your recommendation was 1, have the operation, and then 2, have somebody else who's helping you with the business development. What else have you seen to be really successful if you're helping somebody go from 0 to 0.25 to half and all the way up to that full, I'm ready to start working with you?
Yeah, I think getting a coach is really important too. If you're starting from square one, there are a lot of really good property management coaches out there. Like Kathleen Richards is one. Christina Roick is an awesome coach. I love her. I think if you don't know what you're doing, just getting advice and asking for help, because we love educating, but also the property management industry is full of educators and full of people that are willing to help. So I think the most important thing I would say is, if you're getting started, get that help, get a coach, get somebody to lay the foundation for you. Because oftentimes you don't have to do the groundwork that's already laid out. I mean, get involved with NARPM, number one. If you're a new person, get involved with NARPM. There are a number of free resources. We were just talking to Daniel Craig a few weeks ago about the NARPM accounting standards. That's something that you should just adopt and do. It's a no-brainer. So just take advantage of the free resources, I think, would be my next really big thing.
What's next for 4.5? What cool, awesome things do you have coming around the corner?
I did. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I like we've talked about already. We, to your point about fragmentation and addressing the fragmentation in terms of the services, we think right now in the immediate future, that's something we really want to address. And so what we're looking at doing is putting together a series of packages. Brittany and I, in fact, are working together on that. And we're working on a number of subscription-based packages that are comprehensive in terms of, so property manager says, tell me everything I should do. Tell me all the pieces and tell me how they should work together. And the idea is to have those and to offer them on a subscription basis with a very low barrier or no barrier to entry. So no upfront implementation fee, nothing like that. You're just purchasing a subscription service and that's it. So that's what we're coming out with. We hope to have those out in November. And then, so awesome. that's sort of from our perspective, that's addressing kind of the new clients that would come to us looking for services. I think we understand a lot better kind of how our business should run. And I think our perspective is it really needs to run like a subscription service. And then the second piece of it is we wanted to come up with a series of products for our existing clients to help mature and grow their existing customers. So what kinds of things could they offer to their existing customers to help develop more opportunities with those existing clients? So things like, let's just say a newsletter addressed to owners that are interested in becoming investors, right? So you have an owner who goes through the process of turning over their property. They realize that it works out really well. They're really happy with it. So, gosh, I want to do this again. How do I do that? How do I get involved in, and there's, you probably know, there's a number of different tools out there now. People are trying to get into that space. And so how can you as a property manager, how can you work with your existing client base to offer them those types of services? How can you convert from owners to investors, those kinds of things? So kind of our mindset right now in the near term is those two spaces. One is kind of repositioning to some extent to a subscription-based offering for new clients. And then what can we do to enhance our existing clients and help them have a suite of services?
That's awesome.
So I think there's a ton of people that are going to want to be the first to know about when these subscription services are online, ready to be sold. And I love the second thing you're working on of how do you actually get more and provide more to your existing customers. So for people that want to be the first to know about this when it's ready, how do people get in touch with you? How do they follow you? Where should our listeners go?
Well, first, anybody can always reach out to me or Michael via email. My email is Brittany@FourAndHalf.com, BRITTANY @FourAndHalf, FOURANDHALF.com. No, I'm just kidding. Or visit our website. Our website always has the most up-to-date information. It's FourAndHalf.com, not to be confused with FourAndAHalf.com. Just 4.5.
Although I think I'm pretty sure if you go to, I think there's a redirect, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And I'm Michael at 4.5.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. So,
the website's great. You just go on 4andhalf.com. There's free advice that you can get in, free downloads, and then
you'll see our faces.
For getting a marketing plan if you want to get started.
I'm glad you guys liked it. So
yeah,
really
encourage everyone. Download the ebooks.
I want to say too, I really enjoyed the Latchel website as well. I think it's very clear, and I think what you're offering. I've looked at a number of different players in the space, and I think you have a really solid model. And I really like the process flow there.
Right. So after you're done downloading the ebooks and listening to the 4.5 podcast, then head over to Latchel.com, download the Latchel ebooks, listen to the Latchel podcast again. And it's a virtuous cycle. Well, Michael, Brittany, thank you both so much for coming on. I'm sure we'll be able to do a follow-up once you've launched these products to find out how that's going. I think property managers are going to be super excited about a subscription service to get all their marketing needs fulfilled. I think it's one of the hardest things to do as a property manager. So love what you're doing. Thank you for coming on, and good luck. I'm excited to see how these turn out.
You did a great job nurturing your voice to get through.
Oh, I know.
Very good job.
I apologize for the consistent muting. For anyone that isn't watching this, I've been muting the whole time because I'm like coughing throughout this thing from having a cold. But Will, and thank you for coming on, co-hosting, helping support while I
you muted yourself.
Exactly. Well, thank you both so much, and we'll definitely have to do coffee at some point because I'm so close. So.
Yes,
we'd love it. Absolutely,
that would be awesome.
All right, you both have a good one.
All right,
you too.
Same thing.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.